Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends, it's a real honor to join you to speak at the opening of the Civil Society Forum. I'd like to thank member states and all our organizations for joining us here to drive this conversation forward. Let me begin with a simple truth. 30 years ago in Copenhagen, world leaders made ambitious commitments to a social development that must be people-centered and people-powered. 3 decades later, civil society has delivered. As we look back to that moment, we see how far the global social vision has come, from the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals, to the Pact for the Future, and now to the Doha Political Declaration. Here's what we know. Civil society was tireless in keeping those commitments moving forward and turning them into the 2030 Agenda, making sure social justice and inclusion weren't just words on paper. So when we talk about implementing the declaration, when we talk about the last mile of delivery on social justice, let me be very clear, you are our co-pilots in driving that work forward at the country level. The hundreds of you gathered here today from every region, every sector, representing non-governmental organizations, community-based groups, women's rights organizations, our youth-led movements, organizations of people with disabilities, our teachers' association, workers' unions, faith-based groups, and grassroots activists. You are proof that social development matters and always will because you make it real in communities and in people's lives every day. You've carried this agenda forward for 30 years, and the United Nations is matching your leadership with action. We are practicing inclusion and representation every single day. Civil society is co-designing national SDG roadmaps through the resident coordinator system, shaping food systems and the pathways in more than 100 countries, and helping to guide the Global Digital Compact. Women's rights groups are steering the Spotlight Initiative. Youth networks are shaping the Summit of the Future follow-up. When we tackle financing and debt, when we work on trade and market access, when we push for technology that serves everyone, when we fight for equality education and universal health coverage, when we address poverty and food security, your voices must be amplified in parliaments and in policy discussions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are here in Doha because the SDGs are at risk and they need accelerated action and solutions. Some of you in this room are already doing exactly that. Teachers transforming education in the most marginalized communities, activists holding governments accountable on climate action, networks like She Trades breaking down barriers for women entrepreneurs. And let's be clear, women and youth in civil society are leaders in this work, their energy, their vision. The majority of grassroots organizations, the backbone of social movements, the persistent voice demanding equality and justice, that's women and young people driving that change. When we talk about transforming systems, we need to ensure everyone has the power at every level, shaping decisions and leading implementation. You know what works on the ground, and you know what's needed. And we know that when international system listens to you, we get better policies, better implementation, and better results. Your role is also important in post-conflict settings. Silencing the guns is essential, but peace is not merely the absence of war. It is the slow, deliberate work of mending what violence has torn apart, the trust between people, the social fabric that binds communities, and the sense of shared destiny that allows societies to heal. In Gaza, we see how the war unravels that fabric thread by thread, leaving lives and generations frayed. But we also see endurance and the will to stitch life back together. Think of Tatris, the Palestinian art of embroidery. Each stitch tells a story of strength and survival. Each thread connects generations of women who, through patient and precise hands, transform loss into beauty. Pull one thread and the pattern weakens. Nurture it and the design endures. Rebuilding peace is much the same. It demands patience, precision, and collective care, the quiet resilience of those who choose to mend rather than despair, to stitch back where the fabric of life has been torn. You're the ones on the ground, doing this work, holding communities together, creating conditions for people to rebuild their lives with dignity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, keep pushing, keep demanding, keep holding us accountable. The UN strives to walk the talk on representation and inclusion every day, and we need to make sure that we do better. The promise of Copenhagen, the vision of the 2030 Agenda, and the commitments in the Pact for the Future, with the Doha Declaration, all need your voice and leadership to bring them to life. We are proud to stand with you every step of the way. I thank you.